They did walk a guy out of the woods. I saw him walk a guy out earlier with handcuffs. And he walked by us and said he didn't do it.
It was a grown man.
A grown man, yeah. He's sitting in the front of the police car over there now. So, I mean...
He didn't have a gun?
No, I didn't see any gun. Just had him handcuffed. And he walked by us and looked into parents' eyes and said, I didn't do it.
How was he dressed?
Camo pants with a dark jacket.
Hello everyone, welcome to GGN. Today is Wednesday, December 19th, 2012. I'm Darko, and my website is ggnonline.com, and on YouTube, ddarko2012-2013. Okay, so many of you, I'm sure most of you, if you're watching this, have already been exposed to the plethora of coverage from the alternative media. So, I guess I'm going to try to take my own perspective on this, and just, if there's any points to be highlighted or stressed, it's that there's a good chance that there was a second shooter and that this individual wasn't even physically, mentally capable of carrying out these events. It's a very important point because you have to remember, when in hindsight, when down the road, these assholes, pardon my French, but these really, really evil scumbags that are actually pulling the triggers, like in Colorado, right? There was all kinds of speculation around a second shooter. And when the reports came out, he was what? He was actually trying to kidnap a child and use it as a hostage. So these are some real scumbags, and they're never going to see, bars, jail bars. They're never going to have any kind of justice carried out for the crimes that they committed. It takes a lot, even if you are skilled, to shoot 26 people when they're running, running in all different directions. It's not as easy as they make it seem. So that's what I'll be covering here, along with the whole gun grabbing aspect of it, and I've already went through and gave you my viewpoints on that. But this was just actually from the 14th, right after the shooting. The state police confirming that one shooter is dead, a second gunman is apparently at large, and multiple people have been shot. Israeli death squads involved in Sandy Hook bloodbath, intelligence analysts say. They said days later, the Sandy Hook massacre, the iconic slaughter of 20 small children, is now looking like a terrorist attack, not a murder-suicide. Was lone gunman Adam and Lanza a patsy, the same word Lee Harvey Oswald used to describe himself before being silenced in November 1963. Today, Michael Harris, a former Republican candidate for governor of Arizona, in an internationally televised news broadcast, cited Israeli revenge in what he called the terrorist attack in Connecticut. He cited Israeli rage against the U.S. and against President Barack Obama. By Israel, we mean Netanyahu. In truth, the public may well be sick of hearing stories about lone gunmen. All of the possible horrors, this one, even more than the Benghazi killings, is loaded with political implications, not just gun control, but a clear attack on the security of every American family. The facts are now becoming obvious, he says. This is another case where Israel has chosen violence and terrorism, where their bullying in Washington has failed. Israel believes that the U.S. threw them under the bus, particularly after the recent Gaza war, allowing Israel to be humiliated in the United Nations. Their response was to stage a terror attack targeting America in the most hideous and brutal way possible. In fact, an Israeli signature attack, one that butchers children, is one reminiscent of the attacks that killed so many children in Gaza. Washington is terrified of Israel, their powerful lobby, and its relationship with organized crime. Now, a key former senator, Chuck Hagel, who has helped expose this fact, is likely to be nominated as the Secretary of Defense despite vocal protests from Israel. The Republican Jewish Coalition Executive Director Matt Brooks was quoted as saying, "The appointment of Chuck Hagel would be a slap in the face for every American who is concerned about the safety of Zionist Israel." I added the Zionist part, but that's what they are. That's what they call themselves. So. Then you have from John Rappaport's blog or website, how the Newtown massacre became a mind-controlled television event. Mind-controlled mass hypnosis, it says operant conditioning, brain entrainment, that's what we're talking about here. We're so conditioned to how television covers life that we really step back and take notice. In the case of massive disasters and crimes, network news rules the roast, and we know who rules and controls the network news. And there's also the video going around of the individual, Mr. Parker, who was getting cue cards. Although I thought it was a little unusual how he was actually having to psych himself up to look sad. people, I saw the comments said they knew him personally, and you know, you don't want to exploit it, and that's why I didn't want to show that video, but you can check it out for yourself. And that's the other point that's not being rammed home here and highlighted, which is really the thing that's you can look at all the talk and all the sensationalizing and stuff like that, and the sensationalizing and hyping up of gun control and stuff like that, and abolishing the Second Amendment. But they're not really highlighting the fact that the First Amendment is not just under attack. It's actually it's a full assault. So I mean, they're out there in Connecticut, basically threatening people, the police, that independent journalists and bloggers can't even speak about this event or cover it. Facebook pages are being taken down. It's only a matter of days until someone tweets something and loses their job or whatever, or goes to jail. You know, there's always this talk, you know, that speech, I watched that speech today of Obama, and yeah, it's meant to get your blood boiling. But when it's all said and done, what's going to happen? Is he going to actually do anything? Like I said before, I don't think so. And while they're focusing on the whole gun issue, what they're diverting away from is the second shooter. And that's what this article goes into about the second shooter, and how the story was, as he's put it, dropped like a hot potato, and people trying to bring that to light were called conspiracy theorists. Whereas these anchors are kind of like priests. And it says, no, priest don't browbeat a parishioner. He takes confession and then offers a route to redemption, the old problem, reaction, solution, or Hegelian dialect. But if by some miracle these anchors launch a quest for truth, the whole scene would devolve into uncertainty and even chaos. The Connecticut shooting is no coincidence. The control press is going frantic and making sure that our rights to keep and bear arms are in trouble once more. It says with the UN Small Arms Treaty already signed by the U.S., this tragedy in Connecticut is no coincidence. It was deliberately planned and executed for the mass damage to out the rights to own firearms. The targets were deliberately picked children who we have an obligation to protect as parents. This close to Christmas, imagine for a few months the grief of these parents and the children, what they're going through. So it says here, this was a deliberate attack for the most sympathy possible towards the general public for the same purpose, the gun control agenda. Then we have this Mike Harris back saying Zionist-controlled media create culture of violence in the U.S. I saw an article about this Connecticut school massacre. Adam Lanza spent hours playing Call of Duty, the violent video game, and they've gotten more grotesque over the each edition that comes out. Shooting basically innocent bystanders in an airport, I think was one of them, decapitating heads, all kinds of real crazy stuff. Along with, of course, conditioning them that it's good to fight for the global empire, with all their little Illuminati symbols embedded and subliminal messages hidden in there. There's a surge in violence in the U.S. as a result of Zionist-controlled Hollywood and news media, which have been creating a culture of violence in the country over the years. He goes on here and says that the Zionist-controlled news media that is the conduit into all of this violence, this imagery into every home in America. He goes, so one wonder why there's a culture of violence. And just, like I said, you probably have seen this already, that he was on medication. The mainstream media says shooter Adam Lanza was on violence-linked Anti-Psychotic, Fanapt. So it's now reported by mainstream media to indeed be taking the violence-linked Anti-Psychotic drug known as Fanapt. He said a prediction I made after the news of the shooting broke. It leads to suicidal behavior and increased overall aggression. So again, this is another story, though. This is why I was including it, because it's another story that's being basically buried. Because, we're talking about big pharma here. And that's what's so sad, because like in this article down here, he goes down here and he says, you should give the gift that keeps giving for the defense for your family. So they're playing the ban in the future, always stay one step ahead. And it says here, you should go up there and buy everything they're planning to ban in the near future. Well, like I said, you're just funding the military-industrial complex so that they can create better weapons to help enslave you. So people are going to do that. They're going to go out and they're going to fund the military-industrial complex. Then they're going to ask people to clamp down on coverage. So in other words, censor the media and the news coverage of these attacks. And these are, quote, conservatives. These are the right wing. These are even alternative. These are preppers and all that. And like I said before, I mean, if you really want to go to war with this global empire, you can go ahead. I mean, that's good and great and everything. But I think it'll just be a bloodbath, and you're going to get another type of a situation where you had a confederation of states, and you try to peacefully secede from there, and no, sorry, and that's why you have Steven Spielberg, out there with who was it? Someone important, a congressman or something like that, about the new movie Lincoln, which is a big propaganda piece, a rewritten history. And as far as the whole revolution goes, you had what? They were Federalists, most of them, Adams, Washington, a Freemason. I mean, and Infowars and that, they don't really ever cover that. I mean, before the Constitution, they had the Articles of Confederation. Didn't work out good for them, and so they tried to leave that. When they tried to leave that, according to the Constitution, they had that right. They didn't heed to that. And they'll do the same thing here that they're doing in Syria and every other country. They will break you. They will just allow you to fight, and with all the weapons that you're getting, it's funding them. And they'll just let the blood spill until enough women and children get killed, until it's just like the media with sensationalizing. Enough is enough. This is madness. The violence has to stop, because you're playing into their hand. Obama urges Congress to ban military-style assault weapons. That's what he said on Wednesday. And high-capacity ammunition clips. And they're still going to allow people to have guns. They're talking about this Biden-led team that will include members of President's cabinet, says here, that will look into improving mental health services. And Obama said, a culture that all too often glorifies guns and violence. Now, what he's totally ignoring, of course, is that he represents the military-industrial complex and all these companies like Boeing and Lockheed Martin that make drones and these Hellfire missiles and Patriot missiles and all that kill people, mostly innocents, and a lot of times children. So, I mean, talking about glorifying violence and guns, Jesus. So, I mean, most of you probably understand where he's coming, what exactly he's saying right there. But there's a lot of sheeple that just don't see it. When he says glorify guns and violence, he's not talking about the people that he works for and the Zionist-controlled media and the military-industrial complex that that drone bombs and kills people and enslaves them and sets up a usury and central bank system. No, he's talking about you having ability, you having a spear, as I put it, because that's as simple as it is, a spear, a piece of wooden stick to defend yourself and your family and your property. So, I mean, they're going to keep selling guns. They just might keep guns out of the hands of certain people, like dissenters. Like the guy that spoke out against Obama on Facebook, the Marine. Well, he was abducted, kidnapped, and sent to a psych ward. Even without Congress, Obama could act to restrict guns. That's why I said I don't really think that any of the justice system in America is legit, like the economy and stuff like that. So when they tell you about all this stuff, they can just do it anyways. Indefinite detention, they'll do it anyways. They don't need a freaking law to pass to do it. Obama will basically act without Congress. He could take action to improve background checks on gun buyers and ban certain gun imports. But to reiterate again, the guns aren't going to go away. They make a lot of money off of it, and you're not really a threat to them. Gun makers fret as gun control consensus gains steam. Well, Connecticut shooting sparks gun sales surge. That's right. So Walmart said that they were going to stop selling these AR-15s. Well, look at this, how Walmart helped make the Newtown shooters AR-15 the most popular assault weapon in America. That's right. December 19th, Walmart runs out of guns while ammo prices surge. They said they will continue to sell guns, including rifles like the ones used at Newtown. Another trend I'm seeing is voluntary banning and stuff like that. Sporting goods chain suspends sale of certain semi-automatics after shooting. A top online gun retailer suspends sales of firearms effective immediately. And to get that trauma-based fear mind control going, sales soar for kid-themed body armor packs. Record number of guns handed in by people living in America's deadliest city. So this is what you call mind control. This is how it would be in the USSR. Everybody snitching and self-policing. And schools are like prisons, right? So you want to keep the prisoners in. Bill would have National Guard protect the schools. 2 states consider arming teachers. And while in prison, you want to make sure that they're tracked. Thank you.